You blink slowly, the world around you muffled in twilight. The air is warm but sleepy, like a heavy velvet curtain just barely swaying. Somewhere in the distance, a goat complains. It's not a dramatic sound, just an exhale of disapproval. As if the goat expected better from the day. You're in ancient Greece, but not the postcard kind. No gleaming temples or battle-hardened heroes yet. Just a small village tucked into a dusty hillside where olives drop like lazy punctuation from trees and the ground smells like thyme and stubborn clay. Chickens mutter in their straw-floored enclosures. A dog stretches, yawns, and resumes napping. In a pile of sunlight, you step carefully around a sleeping boy sprawled under a fig tree. His mouth is open. A bee hovers near it, considering. You quietly root for the bee. This isn't the Athens of philosophers or the Sparta of kick-based diplomacy. It's just Tuesday, and you've got nothing urgent to do. That's good, because the gods are watching, and the gods are, frankly, a handful, a soft warning. You probably won't make it through this day. Not because of danger, nothing so exciting, but because time will blur, your thoughts will melt. And somewhere between the first goat and the third thunderclap, sleep will sneak up behind you like a bored nymph with a sense of mischief. If you're enjoying this already, feel free to gently like the video and subscribe. Maybe even comment your location and what time it is, because time is fake here anyway, and we love a bit of irony. Now, let's ease into tonight's journey. You find yourself wandering a winding dirt path, worn smooth by generations of unambitious sandals. The path leads through an orchard of pears that are mostly leaves and ambition. Above you, clouds start to gather in that lazy, overdramatic way they always do in myths. You know the look, it's the Zeus might be bored sky speaking. Of which, Zeus, the head honcho, king of Olympus. The original overthinker with a lightning fetish. At this very moment, he's peering down from his marble Airbnb in the clouds, bored out of his immortal skull. And when Zeus gets bored, things get ... creative, or weird. Or both. Here's something real. Ancient Greeks believed their gods could, and frequently did, transform into animals. And not just any animals, very specific ones. Zeus alone is said to have turned into a swan, a bull, an eagle, a golden shower. Yes, they were poetic but confusing times, and at least 13 other forms that make modern taxonomists nervous. Today, Zeus is thinking about doing it again. You don't know this, of course. You're just walking past an olive press where two old men are arguing about whether olives should be pressed once or twice. It's the same argument they've had every morning for 30 years. Neither of them remembers why they started. But tradition is tradition. You hear a thunderclap that sounds suspiciously like a divine "Hey, watch this," and a sudden breeze ruffles your tunic. Somewhere nearby, a woman named Leda is trying to enjoy a quiet afternoon near the river. And in about 6 minutes, Zeus is going to approach her ... As a swan. Yes, a swan. Historians still debate whether this was meant to be romantic symbolic or just aggressively avian. Either way, the myth goes that Zeus disguised himself as a majestic swan and floated toward Leda, looking innocent, feathery, and utterly lacking boundaries. You pause under a tree, watching a snail inch its way across a rock. Its journey seems noble in its own indecipherable way. Back in the river, Leda looks up. She hears the swan's wings before she sees him, each flap a silky whisper against the sky. The scene is soft, almost cinematic. The light filters through willow branches. The water makes polite conversation with the stones. This, you think, is how myths begin. Not with fire or fanfare, but with a strange bird and a woman who is frankly too patient. Obscure fact time. In some lesser-known versions of the myth, the swan is not just Zeus, he's also being chased by an eagle, which might also be Zeus, which suggests that sometimes even gods get bored enough to chase themselves. Meanwhile, back in your village, the sun begins its slow slide behind the hills. Someone is baking something with too much honey. A child sings a song about turtles that makes no sense and never will. You lean against a tree and let your eyes drift half closed. Somewhere a goat complains again. You wake to the scent of pine and something faintly citrusy. A lemon? A dream? It's hard to tell. A soft rustling overhead suggests the sky is trying on new clouds. The tree you fell asleep under didn't mind. In fact, it seems to have curled a few branches protectively around you, as if to say, don't rush. The story's just getting odd, and it is. The swan incident has predictably caused a stir among the gods. Not because of morality, Olympian ethics are famously flexible, but because Hera, Zeus's wife and eternal side-eye champion, is not thrilled. You walk back toward the village, passing the same olive press. The two old men are still arguing, but now one is holding a chicken for dramatic emphasis. The chicken looks concerned. Back on Olympus, Hera is sharpening a metaphorical eyebrow. She suspects Zeus is up to something, which is always a safe bet. She's been married to him for several millennia, and his track record is roughly never not suspicious. And now she's heard rumors that her husband turned into a bird again, that there were feathers involved, that he gave a mortal woman some very confusing dreams and possibly a few egg-based children, because, yes, Leda eventually lays eggs, human-sized ones, from which Helen of Troy is born. Let's pause on that. Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships, possibly hatched from an egg. Not a metaphor. Historians still debate whether this part of the myth was literal, symbolic, or a symptom of too much wine at the storytelling table. Either way, Greek myth doesn't care what's biologically plausible, it cares what's narratively dramatic. And what's more dramatic than egg-born beauty queens? Back in your village, you pass a man trying to convince his donkey to go uphill. The donkey disagrees, thoroughly, and with great commitment. A second man offers olives as a bribe. The donkey accepts, but only after dramatic hesitation. It's a quiet moment, but it hums with life. Above you, Olympus is shimmering like a bad idea in marble form. Zeus, sensing that Hera's attention is focused, decides to change tactics. The Swan phase is over. He's thinking about bulls now. You stop near a small well and hear laughter echo from the courtyard of the nearby temple. A group of women are weaving, singing a song that tells of Europa, a Phoenician princess who liked long walks on the beach, incense rituals, and not being abducted by farm animals. Spoiler, she gets abducted by a farm animal, specifically a very handsome white bull, who, of course, is Zeus. You watch a lizard sunbathe on a stone, looking smug. You start to suspect the lizard knows things. In the myth, Europa climbs onto the bull's back because ancient myths often hinge on people making wildly unwise decisions, and the bull, instead of trotting politely around the meadow, charges into the sea and swims all the way to Crete. There, Zeus reveals his true form, which is probably even more confusing than being kidnapped by a cow. Obscure tidbit: the continent of Europe is actually named after Europa. So the next time you look at a map, just remember, it's all named after a girl who took one ride on the wrong bull. You hear a soft bell in the distance. Someone is calling goats home, or maybe it's a dinner bell, or maybe both. Greek villages were efficient that way. A breeze curls around your ankles like a lazy cat. The sky is deepening into plum and lavender. You pass a small shrine to Hermes, god of travelers, liars, and impulse shopping. Someone's left him a slice of bread and a shiny stone. You suspect he prefers wine and questionable decisions, but it's the thought that counts. The evening is slow, and so are your thoughts. Back in the clouds, Hera is still watching. But for now, she's letting Zeus dig his own metaphorical grave. Again, the gods are like that. Petty, brilliant, bored, and somehow endlessly human. You settle down beside the village fountain, letting the trickling water lull you. You've heard 2 stories, now 2 of 17, and already you can feel your eyelids grow heavy. But don't worry, there are plenty more animals to come. The night settles in like a velvet robe tossed lazily over the shoulders of the world. Crickets begin their hesitant chorus, 1 chirp, then 2, then a sleepy swarm of sound that seems to tickle the edges of your mind. Somewhere, a cat knocks something over. Probably on purpose. You stretch. The fountain beside you whispers and trickles, telling stories it doesn't even remember starting. Above, Olympus glows with that frustrating divine kind of moonlight, always perfect, always flattering, never earned. Zeus, meanwhile, is back at it. Swans and bulls were just the warm-up acts. Now he's thinking bigger, bolder, hairier. You remember Europa, the girl who took the ride of her life and ended up with a continent named after her. The town hasn't stopped gossiping since. Tonight, someone's carving her likeness into a piece of driftwood, because that's what passes for tabloid journalism in this era. You walk past a baker's stall. The scent of barely sweet bread, fennel, and something mysteriously fishy curls into your nose. It smells better than it sounds. The baker nods at you and offers a fig. It's overripe, oozing sugar, and absolutely the best thing you'll taste. All week, as you chew, you overhear two shepherds murmuring near the temple steps. They're discussing a girl named Callisto, one of Artemis's sworn virgins, a huntress of the wild woods, and, most inconveniently, someone Zeus has just noticed. Q. The transformation. This time, Zeus chooses something new, Artemis herself. Yes, he shapeshifts into the very goddess Callisto serves. The drama practically writes itself. Historians still debate whether this myth reflects a spiritual metaphor about divine identity, or just deeply chaotic storytelling. Either way, Zeus as Artemis approaches Callisto in the woods. They share a moment, and next thing you know, Callisto is pregnant and confused. The gods, it turns out, have all the self-control of unsupervised toddlers with immortality. And of course, Hera finds out. She always finds out. Maybe she has spies. Maybe she just reads vibes like a seasoned tea leaf reader. Either way, when Callisto's secret becomes public, usually in the form of an unexpected baby bump, Hera's vengeance is immediate. In most versions, she turns Callisto into a bear. Because, well, why not? Bearified, Callisto roams the forests for years. Her son Arcas is born human, grows up, and one day almost hunts her down. There's a lot of dramatic near-murder, but at the last moment, Zeus decides that turning both of them into constellations is a much neater solution, and that's how we allegedly got Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Obscure tidbit. In some regional myths, Callisto never gets turned into a bear at all. She's simply punished in more socially complex, metaphorically rich, but far less furry ways. Ancient storytellers didn't always agree on the bear budget. Back in your village, the baker is now asleep in his chair. A mouse sniffs at the leftover bread. It's a peaceful scene mostly. You wander toward the hill where the goats sleep. One of them bleats softly, dreaming of cliffs or spite. Above you, the stars form familiar patterns. The bear is there, lumbering across the sky, mother and son preserved in celestial pause. You sit in the grass and look up. The sky has always been the ancient world's most dramatic scroll, and you, gentle observer, are here for all of it.